In the vast, silent expanse of space where stars twinkled like tiny diamonds scattered across an endless black canvas, something unusual was about to happen. The Vraktor fleet, a race of advanced aliens with sleek, insect-like ships, had been traveling for years through the galaxy. They were conquerors, invaders who thrived on domination. Their target this time was Earth, a small blue-green planet teeming with life but considered weak and primitive by the Vraktor. Commander Zilk stood tall in the command center of his flagship, his metallic exoskeleton glinting faintly under the dim red lights. His four eyes scanned the monitors displaying images of Earth below. He sneered at what he saw. Humans bustling around their cities, fighting wars over borders, polluting their own air, and squabbling over resources. To him, they were nothing more than ants, tiny creatures too busy with their meaningless struggles to notice the storm brewing above them. Pathetic, Zilk muttered, turning to his second-in-command, Trelk. Look at them. So fragile, so disorganized. They won't even know we're here until it's too late. Trelk nodded, his antennae twitching slightly. Indeed, Commander. Their technology is laughable compared to ours. This will be an easy victory. The Vraktor fleet had spent centuries observing humanity from afar, studying their habits, weaknesses, and strengths, or lack thereof. Based on their findings, the aliens concluded that humans posed no real threat. Humans fought amongst themselves constantly, divided by borders, languages, religions, and ideologies. How could such a fractured species possibly stand against the might of the Vraktor? With confidence swelling in his chest, Zilk gave the order. Deploy the cloaking field, let's move closer. We'll strike when they least expect it. The alien ships shimmered briefly as they activated their invisibility, shields disappearing from sight. Slowly, silently, the massive armada approached Earth's atmosphere. Everything seemed to be going according to plan. Below, humans carried on with their daily lives, completely oblivious to the danger looming above. But just as the first wave of scout drones descended toward the planet's surface, something unexpected occurred. A low hum began to resonate through the vacuum of space, growing louder and deeper with each passing moment. At first, the sound was barely noticeable, almost like a distant vibration. But soon, it became impossible to ignore. It reverberated through the hulls of the alien ships, causing alarms to blare and instruments to malfunction. "What is this?" Zilk barked, gripping the edge of his console. "Report." Trelk frantically checked the readings. "Unknown energy signature detected, Commander. Source, unknown." Before anyone could react, the sky above Earth began to change. Thin cracks appeared, spreading outward like fractures in glass. These weren't ordinary cracks. They glowed with an otherworldly light, pulsating with colors that defied description. Blues, purples, golds, and silvers swirled together, creating a spectacle both beautiful and terrifying. And then, the cracks widened. From the fissures emerged enormous structures, ships so large they dwarfed the Vraktor fleet. Towering star destroyers, each bristling with weapons and glowing with energy, rose into view. Their designs were sleek, yet imposing, clearly built for war. The sheer size and power of these vessels left the Vraktor stunned. Zilk's jaw clenched as he stared at the monitors. "What sorcery is this?" he demanded, his voice trembling with anger and disbelief. Before anyone could answer, a deep, commanding voice echoed through every communication channel. It wasn't harsh or threatening. It was calm, measured, and utterly human. "You have entered restricted airspace," the voice declared, resonating with authority. "Withdraw immediately or face annihilation." The message sent shockwaves through the Vraktor ranks. Who dared challenge them? And how did these beings know they were there? The cloaking field should have made them invisible. Zilk slammed his fist against the console. "Who are you?" he growled into the communicator. "Show yourselves." There was a pause followed by a reply laced with quiet confidence. "We are humanity. You've underestimated us, and now you will pay the price." At that moment, the Star Destroyers unleashed their full might. Bright beams of energy shot out from their cannons, striking several Vraktor ships with pinpoint accuracy. Explosions lit up the darkness of space, sending debris spiraling in all directions. The aliens scrambled to retaliate, firing their own weapons, but their attacks seemed pitiful in comparison. The human ships absorbed the blasts effortlessly, their shields holding firm. On board one of the Star Destroyers, Director Elena Cruz watched the chaos unfold with a mixture of pride and tension. She stood in the heart of the United Nations Space Defense Initiative, UNSDI headquarters, surrounded by holographic displays showing real-time updates of the battle. For decades, she and her team had worked tirelessly in secret, preparing for exactly this scenario. Humanity had always known that alien contact would come someday, and they refused to be caught unprepared. "Deploy the Sentinels," she ordered, her voice steady, despite the gravity of the situation. Moments later, smaller fighter craft launched from the Star Destroyers, streaking toward the enemy fleet like arrows fired from a bow. Each craft was piloted by elite human soldiers enhanced with cutting-edge cybernetics, giving them reflexes and precision far beyond natural human capabilities. As the Sentinels engaged the Vraktor, the tide of the battle began to shift. The Lao, alien ships once confident in their superiority, found themselves overwhelmed by the speed and coordination of the human forces. Every maneuver they attempted was countered with devastating efficiency. The Sentinels darted between enemy vessels, unleashing barrages of missiles and laser fire before vanishing into the void. Back on the Vraktor flagship, panic started to spread among the crew. "They're too fast," shouted one technician. "Our targeting systems can't keep up." Zilk gritted his teeth, trying to maintain control. "Focus your fire on the largest ship," he commanded. "If we take out their command center, the rest will fall into disarray." His strategy seemed sound, at least at first. Several Vraktor ships concentrated their firepower on the lead Star Destroyer, peppering its hull with explosive rounds. Smoke and sparks erupted from the damaged sections, and for a brief moment, it looked like the humans might falter. But then, something extraordinary happened. A massive hatch opened on the side of the damaged destroyer, revealing a figure clad in golden armor. Standing nearly 7 feet tall, the warrior radiated power and menace. In one hand, he held a weapon that pulsed with raw energy, casting eerie shadows across the battlefield. This was Captain Marcus Kane, humanity's greatest hero and the prototype for the next generation of super soldiers. With a roar that echoed through the silence of space, Kane leaped into action. Moving faster than the eye could follow, he dodged incoming fire and delivered crushing blows to any enemy vessel foolish enough to get close. With each swing of his energy weapon, entire squads of alien fighters were obliterated, reduced to nothing more than drifting wreckage. Trelk stared in horror at the scene unfolding before him. "How is this possible?" he whispered, his antennae quivering. "No single being should possess such strength." Zilk didn't respond. For the first time in his long career as a commander, he felt fear creeping into his mind. Fear not of defeat, but of the unknown potential lurking within humanity. Somehow these supposedly primitive beings had managed to create something far greater than anything the Vraktor had ever encountered. And the battle was far from over. As the Star Destroyers continued their relentless assault, the truth became clear. Humanity was not to be underestimated. As the battle raged on in the cold expanse of space, the Vraktor fleet found itself facing an enemy unlike any they had encountered before. The golden armored figure of Captain Marcus Kane continued to wreak havoc among their ranks, his every move precise and devastating. Behind him, the Star Destroyers loomed like titans, their weapons blazing with relentless fury. For a species that prided itself on conquest, the Vraktor were now fighting for survival. Commander Zilk stood frozen in the center of his flagship's bridge, his 4 eyes darting between the monitors displaying scenes of destruction. Each explosion, each loss of one of their ships, was a blow not just to their forces but to their pride. "How is this happening?" he muttered under his breath, his voice tinged with disbelief. "They're primitive. We studied them. They're nothing." Trelk, his second in command, didn't respond immediately. His antennae twitched nervously as he analyzed the data streaming in from their sensors. Finally, he spoke, his tone hesitant. "Commander, there's something you need to see." Zilk turned sharply toward Trelk. "What is it?" Trelk gestured to one of the screens where a detailed scan of the human fleet was displayed. "Their technology. It's beyond anything we've ever encountered. These ships? They're powered by some kind of energy source we can't identify. And those fighters, look at their speed and precision. They're enhanced somehow." Zilk frowned deeply. "Enhanced? You mean biological modifications?" "Exactly," Trelk replied. "Their pilots aren't ordinary humans. Their reflexes, their coordination, it's almost mechanical. But even more concerning is their unity. Every ship, every soldier, they're working together perfectly. It's as if they share a single mind." For a moment, silence fell over the bridge. Zilk's mandibles clicked softly as he processed this information. Unity. That word struck a chord within him. The Vraktor were conquerors, yes, but they were also hierarchical and fragmented. Loyalty flowed upward, not outward. Could it be that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology or their enhancements, but their ability to work as one? Before Zilk could dwell further on this thought, another report came in. One of their science officers approached, trembling slightly. "Commander," the officer began, "we've detected signals coming from Earth itself. There's activity down there, massive energy readings. Whatever these humans have built in space, it's connected to something much larger on their planet." This revelation sent a chill through Zilk. If what the officer said was true, then the humans weren't just defending themselves. They were retaliating with everything they had. He clenched his fist tightly, his claws digging into the metal of the console. "Prepare all remaining ships for full assault," he ordered. "We'll overwhelm them with sheer numbers. Focus fire. On their command ship, the largest destroyer. Take out their leader and the rest will crumble." Meanwhile, aboard the lead star destroyer Aegis, Director Elena Cruz watched the battle unfold with a mixture of satisfaction and tension. The UNSDI had spent decades preparing for this moment, pouring countless resources into developing humanity's ultimate defense system. The star destroyers, the sentinels, the cybernetic enhancements, all of it had been designed with one goal in mind: to ensure that no alien force would ever subjugate Earth. But despite the success so far, Cruz knew they couldn't afford complacency. The Vraktor were still dangerous, and their desperation made them unpredictable. She leaned forward slightly, her sharp eyes scanning the holographic displays showing real-time updates of the battle. "Status report," she demanded. One of her aides stepped forward. "The enemy has regrouped and is targeting the Aegis. Several of their ships are attempting to flank us, while others are focusing on disabling our shields." Cruz nodded grimly. "Divert additional power to the shield generators. Launch another wave of sentinels to intercept their flanking maneuvers. And tell Captain Kane to hold position. He's drawing too much attention." "Yes, ma'am," the aide replied, relaying the orders. Cruz allowed herself a brief moment to reflect. Humanity had come so far in such a short time. When the UNSDI was first established, many doubted its necessity. Why waste resources preparing for an invasion that might never happen? But Cruz had always believed in being ready. She remembered the countless debates, the sleepless nights, the sacrifices made by everyone involved in the project. Now, all of that effort was paying off. Her thoughts were interrupted by a sudden alert. A massive energy surge was detected near the rear sections of the Aegis. One of the Vraktor ships had managed to bypass their defenses and was preparing to fire directly at the command center. "Evacuate the affected areas immediately," Cruz shouted, "and reroute auxiliary power to stabilize the hull integrity." As the crew scrambled to execute her commands, Cruz turned her attention back to the main screen. On it, she could see Captain Kane continuing his assault against the enemy fleet. His movements were fluid and calculated, each strike landing with devastating impact. But even someone as formidable as Kane couldn't fight forever without support. Back on the battlefield, Kane felt the strain of prolonged combat. His golden armor, though nearly indestructible, was beginning to show signs of wear. Scorch marks marred its surface, and minor breaches in the outer layer caused sparks to fly intermittently. Still, he pressed on, driven by a singular purpose: to protect Earth at all costs. Kane's communicator crackled to life, and Director Cruz's voice came through. "Captain, fall back to defensive positions. We can't risk losing you." Kane hesitated for a fraction of a second. Retreating went against every instinct he possessed, but he trusted Cruz implicitly. "Understood," he replied. With a final burst of energy, he obliterated 2 more Vroctor fighters before retreating toward the safety of the Aegis. As he moved, Kane took stock of the situation. Despite the heavy losses inflicted on the aliens, the Vroctor weren't giving up. Their commander, whoever he was, seemed determined to press the attack no matter the cost. This level of persistence worried Kane. It suggested that the Vroctor viewed this invasion as more than just another conquest. It was personal. Reaching the relative safety of the Star Destroyer, Kane docked his craft and disembarked quickly. He joined Cruz in the command center, his presence immediately commanding attention. "Director," he said, his voice firm despite his exhaustion. "We need to end this soon. Their resolve is stronger than anticipated." Cruz nodded. "I agree. I've already initiated Phase 3 of Operation Celestial Shield. Once it's ready, we'll deliver the final blow." Kane raised an eyebrow. "Phase 3? You mean?" "Yes," Cruz interrupted. "It's time to deploy the Omega Cannon." The Omega Cannon was humanity's ultimate weapon, a device capable of unleashing a concentrated beam of pure energy, powerful enough to annihilate entire fleets in seconds. Its development had been controversial, with some arguing that creating such a weapon risked turning humanity into the very monsters they feared. But Cruz had insisted. In a universe filled with unknown threats, humanity needed options. And right now the Omega Cannon was their best chance of ending the battle decisively. While preparations for the cannon continued, the Sentinels launched another wave of attacks, keeping the Vroctor occupied. Their precision strikes forced the aliens to spread thin, buying precious time for the humans. Yet even as the tide began to turn in their favor, the tension aboard the Aegis remained palpable. Finally, after what felt like hours, the announcement came. "Omega Cannon online," a technician reported. "Awaiting your command, Director." Cruz took a deep breath, her hand hovering over the activation button. For a moment she hesitated. Using the Omega Cannon meant crossing a line, a point of no return. But looking at the faces of her crew, at the determination etched into each of their expressions, she knew what had to be done. "Fire," she said quietly. With a deafening roar, the Omega Cannon unleashed its payload. A blinding beam of light shot forth, slicing through the void like a sword cutting through silk. Wherever it touched, destruction followed. Entire squad ships disintegrated instantly, reduced to nothing more than clouds of dust and debris. Within moments, the once proud Vroctor fleet was decimated. On board the surviving alien ships, panic erupted. Zilk stared in horror as the beam tore through his forces, leaving devastation in its wake. "Retreat," he screamed, abandoning all hope of victory. "All units, retreat immediately." The remaining Vroctor ships fled in disarray, their cloaking fields flickering erratically as they limped away from Earth's orbit. As the last of them disappeared into the depths of space, silence descended upon the battlefield. Back on the Aegis, the crew erupted into cheers. Tears streamed down some faces as relief washed over them. They had done it. Against overwhelming odds, humanity had triumphed. Director Cruz allowed herself a small smile. Turning to Kane, she said simply, "Well done, Captain." Kane nodded, his expression unreadable beneath his golden helmet. "This isn't over," he replied. "They'll be back, and next time we need to be ready." Cruz agreed. The Vroctor may have been defeated, but the universe was vast and humanity was only beginning to step onto the cosmic stage. Somewhere out there, other threats awaited. But for now, Earth was safe. And that was enough. As the Star Destroyers returned to their hidden positions among the stars, one thing was clear: Humanity had proven itself. They were not to be underestimated. The battle may have been won, but the war for survival was far from over. As the Vraktor fleet retreated into the depths of space, their ships battered and broken, Commander Zilk sat in stunned silence on the bridge of his flagship. His once proud armada had been reduced to a fraction of its former strength, and the humiliation of defeat burned deep within him. The humans, those supposedly primitive creatures, had not only repelled their invasion, but had done so with a level of sophistication and power that defied all logic. Trelk approached cautiously, his antennae twitching nervously. "Commander," he began hesitantly, "what are your orders? Do we regroup and prepare for another assault?" Zilk's mandibles clicked angrily as he turned to face his second-in-command. "Another assault?" he spat. "Are you blind, Trelk? Did you not see what they did to us? Their weapons, their tactics, they're beyond anything we've encountered before. If we attack again without understanding how they achieved this, we'll be wiped out completely." Trelk swallowed hard, his exoskeleton shimmering faintly under the dim red lights. "Then what do we do? Return home and report our failure?" "No," Zilk growled, his voice low and dangerous. "We retreat, yes, but not to admit defeat. We need answers. How did these humans develop such advanced technology? Where did those star destroyers come from? And who is that golden armored warrior who single-handedly decimated half our fleet?" He paused, his four eyes narrowing as a new thought took shape in his mind. "There's something else at play here. Something we missed. Humans don't evolve this quickly, not naturally. Someone must have helped them. Another civilization, perhaps. Allies hidden among the stars." Trelk blinked in surprise. "You think they have allies aiding them?" "It's the only explanation," Zilk replied firmly. "No species advances this far on its own in such a short time, not unless they're being guided, or worse, manipulated, by someone more powerful." Meanwhile, aboard the lead star destroyer Aegis, humanity celebrated their hard-fought victory. Director Elena Cruz stood in the command center, watching as the crew worked tirelessly to repair the damage sustained during the battle. Though the Omega cannon had turned the tide decisively, it hadn't come without cost. Sections of the hull were scorched, systems were offline, and several sentinels had been lost in the fight. But despite the losses, morale was high. Humanity had proven itself capable of standing toe-to-toe with an alien force and winning. "Captain." Marcus Kane entered the room, his golden armor still bearing the scars of combat. He moved with purpose, his presence commanding respect even in the aftermath of chaos. Approaching Cruz, he spoke in a measured tone. "Director, we've secured the perimeter. The remaining Vraktor ships are retreating beyond sensor range." "What are your orders?" Cruz glanced at him, her expression calm but resolute. "For now, we stand down. Assess the damage, tend to the wounded, and begin repairs. But keep the fleet on high alert, this isn't over." Kane nodded grimly. "Agreed, they'll be back, and next time they'll bring reinforcements." "That's why we need to act quickly," Cruz said, turning to face the holographic display showing Earth below. "This victory buys us time, but not much. We need to understand how the Vraktor found us, why they targeted us, and whether they'll share their failure with others. If word spreads about humanity's capabilities, it could attract unwanted attention." Kane crossed his arms, his brow furrowing beneath his helmet. "Do you think other alien races know about us?" "I don't know," Cruz admitted. "But I do know one thing. We can't rely solely on secrecy anymore. Sooner or later, humanity will step fully onto the galactic stage. When that happens, we need to be ready, not just militarily, but diplomatically and scientifically." She turned back to Kane, her gaze unwavering. "That's why I'm assigning you to lead a special task force. Your mission is twofold. First, analyze the data we gathered during the battle. Study their technology, their tactics, everything. Find out what made them believe they could invade us. Second, prepare for future encounters. We need to anticipate their next move and stay one step ahead." Kane straightened, his posture rigid with determination. "Understood, Director. I'll assemble the best minds we have and get to work immediately." As Kane departed, Cruz allowed herself a moment of reflection. The UNSDI had always operated in the shadows, protecting Earth from threats most people didn't even know existed. But today marked a turning point. Humanity had revealed itself to the cosmos, and there was no going back. Hours later, Kane stood in a secure laboratory aboard the Aegis, surrounded by scientists and engineers poring over salvaged pieces of Vraktor technology. The room buzzed with activity as teams worked around the clock to unlock the secrets of their defeated foes. One of the lead researchers, Dr. Sophia Patel, approached Kane with a datapad in hand. "Captain," she began, her voice tinged with excitement, "we've made some progress. Based on our analysis, the Vraktor ships are powered by a form of quantum energy extraction, a process far more efficient than anything we've developed. It allows them to sustain long-distance travel and maintain cloaking fields indefinitely." Kane frowned slightly. "So they can strike anywhere, anytime, without warning?" "Exactly," Dr. Patel confirmed. "But here's the interesting part. Their technology shows signs of decay. Some components are outdated, others poorly maintained. It suggests that the Vraktor Empire might be stretched thin, overextended across too many territories." Kane's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. "Meaning they're vulnerable elsewhere?" "Precisely," Dr. Patel replied. "If we can exploit that weakness, we might be able to deter future attacks, or even negotiate peace." Kane considered this for a moment before responding. "Peace sounds ideal, but I doubt the Vraktor will listen after what happened today. Still, it's worth exploring. Keep digging. There's more to learn here." As Dr. Patel returned to her work, Kane walked over to a large viewport overlooking the vastness of space. Stars twinkled in the distance, their light piercing the darkness like pinpricks of hope. For centuries, humanity had looked up at the night sky with wonder and curiosity. Now they stared into it with resolve and caution. A sudden notification interrupted his thoughts. A message had arrived from Earth, specifically from the United Nations Security Council. Opening the transmission, Kane listened intently as the speaker addressed him directly. "Captain Kane, this is Secretary General Lee. On behalf of the global community, I want to commend you and your team for your bravery and leadership during this unprecedented crisis. However, questions remain. Who were these aliens? Why did they target us? And most importantly, what does this mean for humanity's place in the universe?" Kane exhaled slowly, knowing the weight of the responsibility now resting on his shoulders. "Mr. Secretary General," he replied, choosing his words carefully. "The truth is, we don't have all the answers yet. But one thing is clear. Humanity has taken its first step into a larger galaxy. Whether we like it or not, we are no longer alone." Secretary General Lee nodded solemnly. "Then let us proceed with wisdom and caution. The world is counting on you, Captain. Make sure we're prepared for whatever comes next." "I will, sir," Kane promised. "Humanity will not be caught unprepared again." Back in the depths of space, the surviving Vraktor ships limped toward a remote outpost on the edge of their territory. Morale among the crew was at an all-time low, and whispers of mutiny began to spread. Zilk, however, remained focused. Failure was unacceptable, but neither was ignorance. He needed to understand how the humans had evolved so rapidly, and he intended to find out no matter the cost. Summoning Trelk to his quarters, Zilk issued a new set of orders. "Send scouts to nearby systems. Look for signs of human activity or evidence of other civilizations aiding them. And contact High Command. Inform them of our findings, but frame it as an intelligence-gathering mission, not a defeat." Trelk saluted sharply. "Yes, Commander. Consider it done." As Trelk left, Zilk stared out at the stars, his mind racing. The humans had proven themselves formidable opponents, but they were still young, still learning. In time, the Vraktor would return, stronger and better prepared. Until then, they would watch, wait, and plan. Little did Zilk realize, however, that humanity's greatest strength lay not in their technology or their warriors, but in their unity. For every human, regardless of nationality, culture, or creed, shared a common bond, the desire to protect their home. And that bond, forged through adversity and triumph, made them truly unstoppable. In the end, the message was clear. Humanity was not to be underestimated. The days following the Vraktor retreat were a whirlwind of activity for humanity. While the immediate threat had been neutralized, the implications of the battle weighed heavily on everyone involved. For the first time in history, Earth had openly engaged with an alien species and emerged victorious. But this victory came with a sobering realization: humanity was no longer alone in the universe. The question now was not whether other extraterrestrial civilizations existed, but how many, and what their intentions might be. A new reality. Director Elena Cruz sat in her private quarters aboard the Aegis, staring at a holographic projection of Earth spinning silently in the void. The planet looked peaceful from this distance, its blue oceans and swirling white clouds a stark contrast to the chaos that had unfolded just hours earlier. Yet beneath its serene surface, humanity was grappling with profound changes. News of the alien invasion and humanity's defense had spread across the globe like wildfire. Governments scrambled to address public concerns, while media outlets bombarded audiences with endless speculation. Some hailed the event as proof of humanity's ingenuity and resilience. Others saw it as a harbinger of doom, warning that more alien threats would inevitably follow. Amidst the noise, one thing was certain: life on Earth would never be the same again. Cruz sighed deeply, rubbing her temples. She had known this day would come eventually. The UNSDI had always anticipated that humanity's emergence into the galactic stage would attract attention. What she hadn't anticipated was how quickly the situation would escalate, or how deeply it would divide global leaders. Her communicator buzzed, pulling her out of her thoughts. It was Secretary General Lee, his face appearing on the screen with an expression of urgency. "Director Cruz," he began without preamble, "the Security Council has convened an emergency session. They're demanding answers and transparency." Cruz nodded grimly. "Understood, Mr. Secretary General. I'll brief them fully, but I need your support. This isn't just about politics anymore. Humanity's survival depends on unity and preparation." Lee hesitated for a moment before responding. "I'll do what I can, but you know as well as I do that cooperation won't come easily. Many nations are already questioning why they weren't informed about the UNSDI's existence or its capabilities. That secrecy saved lives today," Cruz replied firmly. "If word of our defenses had leaked, the Vraktor could have adapted. We couldn't risk it." "I agree," Lee said, though his tone suggested reluctance. "But keeping secrets moving forward will only breed distrust. You'll need to find a way to bridge that gap." Cruz ended the call with a heavy heart. She understood Lee's concerns, but bridging the gap between secrecy and transparency wouldn't be easy, not when billions of lives hung in the balance. Still, she resolved to try. Humanity couldn't afford division, not when greater threats might lurk beyond the stars. Lessons from the past. Meanwhile, Captain Marcus Kane led a team of scientists and analysts deep into the wreckage left behind by the Vraktor fleet. Salvage operations had recovered fragments of alien technology, including pieces of their cloaking devices, energy weapons, and even remnants of their communication systems. Each artifact was meticulously studied, offering glimpses into the workings of a civilization far older and more advanced than humanity's. Dr. Sophia Patel stood beside Kane, holding up a shard of metallic alloy. "This material is unlike anything we've seen," she explained, her voice tinged with awe. "It's incredibly lightweight yet nearly indestructible. If we can replicate it, it could revolutionize human engineering." Kane nodded thoughtfully. "Focus on practical applications. We don't have time for theoretical research right now. Every advantage counts." Patel smiled faintly. "You're thinking ahead, aren't you? Preparing for the next fight?" "It's not a matter of if. It's when," Kane replied. "The Vraktor may have retreated, but they won't stay away forever. And there are likely other species out there watching us now. We need to be ready. As the team continued their work, Kane found himself reflecting on the nature of conflict. The Vraktor had underestimated humanity, assuming that their technological superiority and experience as conquerors would guarantee victory. What they hadn't accounted for was humanity's adaptability, the ability to innovate under pressure and unite in the face of adversity. Kane turned to Patel. "Do you think they expected us to evolve so quickly?" Patel shrugged. "Evolution usually takes thousands, if not millions of years. But humans, we're different. Our progress isn't driven by biology, it's driven by necessity. Wars, disasters, challenges. They force us to grow faster than any natural process ever could." Kane considered this for a moment. "So, maybe that's our edge. Not just technology or strength, but our capacity to adapt, to change when the odds are against us." Patel nodded. "Exactly. Other species might outpace us in raw power or age, but none of them can match our determination. When backed into a corner, humans don't give up. We fight back, and we win." Unity through adversity. Back on Earth, the aftermath of the battle sparked both fear and hope among the population. Cities that had once been divided by borders and ideologies now saw people coming together in unprecedented ways. Vigils were held for those who had sacrificed their lives during the invasion, while rallies celebrated humanity's triumph over an alien foe. Social media platforms buzzed with messages of solidarity, many accompanied by hashtags like One Earth and Humanity United. In Geneva, representatives from around the world gathered for the emergency UN Security Council meeting. Tensions ran high as nations debated the future of Earth's defense strategy. Some argued for increased funding and collaboration with the UNSDI, while others demanded stricter oversight and accountability. The discussions grew heated, but amidst the discord, a glimmer of consensus began to emerge. Secretary General Lee addressed the assembly, his voice steady and resolute. "Today, we stand at a crossroads. For centuries, humanity has fought amongst itself, squabbling over resources and ideologies. But now we face a common enemy, an enemy that sees us not as individuals, but as one species. If we are to survive, we must act as one." His words resonated deeply, prompting murmurs of agreement throughout the chamber. Slowly, grudgingly, nations began to set aside their differences and focus on the bigger picture. Agreements were drafted, alliances strengthened, and plans laid for a unified global defense network. Though challenges remained, the seeds of true cooperation had been planted. A message to the stars. As the dust settled, Director Cruz made a bold decision. Addressing the world via a live broadcast, she revealed the existence of the UNSDI and its role in defending Earth. Her speech was concise yet powerful, emphasizing the importance of unity and vigilance in the face of unknown dangers. "To the people of Earth," she began, standing tall against the backdrop of the Star Destroyer Aegis. "Today marks the beginning of a new chapter in our history. We have proven ourselves capable of standing against forces far greater than ourselves, but let this victory remind us not of our strength but of our fragility. Out there among the stars lie countless civilizations, some friendly, some hostile. We cannot predict their intentions, but we can prepare for them." She paused, allowing her words to sink in before continuing. "To any who may be watching us, now, whether friend or foe, hear this. Humanity is resilient. We are adaptable, and above all, we are united. Do not underestimate us." Her message sent shockwaves through the international community, and possibly beyond. While some criticized her decision to reveal so much, others praised her for fostering transparency and trust. Whatever the reaction, one thing was clear. Humanity had taken its first step toward becoming an interstellar power. The Vraktors. Resolve. Far away in the shadowy reaches of space, Commander Zilk brooded over his failure. The loss of the invasion fleet had cost him dearly, not just in ships and soldiers but in reputation. High Command had summoned him to explain his defeat, and though he managed to frame it as an intelligence-gathering mission, the skepticism in their eyes was unmistakable. Yet despite the setbacks, Zilk refused to abandon his mission. Humanity had proven itself formidable, yes, but they were still young, inexperienced. With time, patience, and proper planning, the Vraktor could strike again and succeed. Summoning Trelk to his chambers, Zilk issued a final directive. Send envoys to neighboring systems, forge alliances, gather intelligence, and prepare for war. The humans may have won today, but tomorrow belongs to us. Trelk saluted sharply. Yes, Commander, it shall be done. As Zilk gazed out at the stars, a cold determination burned within him. Humanity had earned his respect, but respect did not mean mercy. In time, the Vraktor would return, and when they did, they would leave no room for error. For now, however, humanity had prevailed. Against overwhelming odds, they had defended their home and sent a clear message to the cosmos. They were not to be underestimated. But as the galaxy watched and waited, one truth became undeniable. This was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, a sprawling expanse of stars and planets that stretched endlessly in every direction. Humanity had always looked up at the night sky with wonder, dreaming of what might lie beyond their tiny blue-green world. But now, those dreams had become reality, and with it came both hope and fear. The battle against the Vraktor had proven humanity's strength, but it also served as a wake-up call. Earth was no longer an isolated haven. It was part of something much larger, something unpredictable and dangerous. A world transformed. Weeks after the alien invasion, life on Earth began to settle into a new rhythm. Cities buzzed with activity as governments worked tirelessly to rebuild trust and cooperation among nations. The revelation of the UNSDI's existence had sparked debates across the globe, with some praising its role in defending humanity and others questioning its secrecy. Yet, despite the divisions, there was a growing sense of unity. People realized that survival depended not on individual nations or ideologies, but on collective action. In Geneva, Secretary General Lee convened another meeting of the United Nations Security Council. This time the atmosphere was different, less tense, more collaborative. Representatives from around the world sat together discussing plans for a global defense initiative, GDI, a unified effort to protect Earth from future threats. Funding would be pooled, resources shared, and decisions made collectively. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. Director Elena Cruz addressed the council via hologram, her image projected above the conference table. This is humanity's chance to redefine itself, she said, her voice steady and commanding. We've shown the universe that we're strong, adaptable, and united. Now we must ensure that this unity endures, not just for today, but for tomorrow. Her words resonated deeply. Slowly, agreements were signed, alliances forged, and frameworks established. The GDI became a symbol of hope, a testament to humanity's ability to rise above its differences when faced with a common challenge. Lessons. Meanwhile, aboard the Star Destroyer Aegis, Captain Marcus Kane continued leading efforts to analyze the remnants of the Vraktor fleet. Salvaged technology provided invaluable insights into the aliens' capabilities, revealing weaknesses that could be exploited in future encounters. But more importantly, it highlighted humanity's own strengths. Dr. Sophia Patel joined Kane in the lab, holding up a piece of alien circuitry. Their cloaking technology is impressive, but it has limitations, she explained. It drains significant amounts of energy, especially during prolonged use. If we can develop countermeasures, we'll have the upper hand next time. Kane nodded thoughtfully. Good work. Keep pushing forward. Every advantage counts. Patel smiled, faintly, then hesitated before adding, There's something else, Captain. Something I think you should see. She led him to a nearby terminal, where a series of data streams flickered across the screen. We've been analyzing their communication logs. Most of it's encrypted, but we managed to decode fragments of a message sent by Commander Zilk before they retreated. Kane leaned closer, his eyes scanning the text. What does it say? It confirms our suspicions, Patel replied. They believe humanity had outside help, possibly from another advanced civilization. Zilk's orders include sending envoys to neighboring systems to form alliances. He's planning to return stronger and better prepared. Kane clenched his fists tightly. Then we need to prepare too, and quickly. Unity through innovation. Back on Earth, the creation of the GDI spurred unprecedented innovation. Scientists, engineers, and strategists from every corner of the globe collaborated on projects designed to enhance humanity's defenses. Advanced weapon systems, faster-than-light travel prototypes, and even experimental terraforming technologies were developed, all aimed at ensuring Earth's survival in an uncertain future. One breakthrough stood out above the rest. Project Aurora. Spearheaded by Dr. Patel and her team, the project focused on harnessing the mysterious energy source powering the star destroyers. Known as quantum flux energy, QFE, it held the potential to revolutionize human technology. By mastering QFE, humanity could achieve feats once thought impossible: interstellar colonization, sustainable energy solutions, and near-instantaneous communication across light years. When Director Cruz received news of the breakthrough, she couldn't help but smile. This changes everything, she told Kane during a private briefing. If we can replicate QFE on a global scale, we won't just survive, we'll thrive. We'll take our place among the stars, not as victims, but as equals. Kane nodded, though his expression remained cautious. It's a powerful tool, Director, but power attracts attention. The more we advance, the greater the risk of drawing unwanted visitors. I know, Cruz replied, but standing still isn't an option either. Progress is risky, yes, but stagnation is deadly. A message to the cosmos. As humanity prepared for whatever lay ahead, Director Cruz authorized one final act of defiance, a broadcast intended not just for Earth, but for the entire galaxy. Standing aboard the Aegis, surrounded by representatives from every nation, she addressed the cosmos with unwavering resolve. To any who may be watching, she began, her voice echoing through the void. We are humanity. We are explorers, innovators, survivors. Our journey has only begun, yet already we've faced challenges that would have destroyed lesser species. To those who seek peace, we extend our hand in friendship. To those who seek conquest, we offer this warning. Do not underestimate us. We are small, but we are strong. We are divided, but we are united. We are young, but we are determined. The transmission ended with a single image, the Earth glowing brightly against the backdrop of space. It was a simple, yet powerful declaration. Humanity was here and it was ready. The Vraktor's next move. Far away, deep within the heart of the Vraktor Empire, Commander Zilk reviewed reports from his envoys. Alliances had been formed with several neighboring species, each eager to share in the spoils of humanity's defeat. Resources were being gathered, ships constructed, and strategies refined. The humans had proven themselves formidable foes, but Zilk was confident they wouldn't stand a chance against the combined might of multiple civilizations. Trelk approached cautiously, his antennae twitching nervously. Commander, the High Council requests an update. They grow impatient. Zilk turned sharply, his mandibles clicking angrily. Tell them patience is a virtue. Humanity will fall, but not until we're absolutely certain of victory. Until then, we watch, we learn, and we prepare. Trelk saluted sharply. Yes, Commander, it shall be done. As Trelk departed, Zilk gazed out at the stars, his mind racing. The humans had earned his respect, but respect did not mean mercy. In time, they would face the full fury of the Vraktor and their allies, and when that day came, Zilk vowed, humanity would crumble beneath their combined might. A new dawn. For now, however, humanity had prevailed. Against overwhelming odds, they had defended their home and sent a clear message to the cosmos. They were not to be underestimated. The road ahead would be fraught with challenges, new enemies, unforeseen dangers, and countless unknowns. But humanity had proven itself capable of overcoming adversity. On board the Aegis, Captain Kane stood beside Director Cruz, watching as Earth drifted silently below. "Do you think we're ready?" he asked quietly. Cruz smiled faintly. "No one's ever truly ready for what lies beyond the stars, but if anyone can face it, it's us." Kane nodded, his expression resolute. "Then let's get to work. There's a galaxy waiting and we're just getting started." As the Star Destroyers returned to their hidden positions among the stars, one truth became undeniable. Humanity's story was far from over. For better or worse, they had taken their first step into a larger universe. And while the path ahead was uncertain, one thing was clear. They were not alone anymore.